my god, look at all that money on the bed. Is that a prize figure? 2 OP chases? I guess we should say we are in Ottawa.
Guys, we made it to Nationals. This is our hotel room.
Giggity.
Yay.
I saw the last movie. I started this way.
Alright. So it is
12:30.
12:30 in the morning, technically, the day before or the morning of Nationals. So we're just waiting, basically, for later today to play our teams. So going in, we're actually going to tell you guys about our teams without being sullied by our experience. So we're going to tell you how well they did in practices, and basically what our teams are and what they do, and what we hope they do for us later today at Nationals.
Alright, we get it.
Okay. Shut up, I'm tired. It took like 6 hours to get here.
5.5.
So my team is a very motley crew. And I think Jason's got it so you guys can see this. I do have 2 entities on my team, Parallax and Ophidian, and they are helping out my 2 buddies, Rocket Raccoon and Alyosha Craven. And of course, with Alyosha, that means that he's got his lion.
Rawr.
And rounding it out, I have Loki at his 30-point dial, because he's awesome at 30 points. And Split Lip, which also means I got the Book of Skulls.
Really? With Split Lip? Oh no.
So the cool thing about this team is that there's actually a lot of synergy amongst the characters. And
you missed your toy.
I did. I missed this little guy. This is the linchpin of my team, guys. This is the Superman action figure.
4 body counts. I got 4 bodies counted by that figure.
That's awesome. So with Alyosha Craven, he does a lot of cool things. Not only does he bring in the lion,
Rawr.
who then can do any action for free so long as Alyosha's still on the board. So he's fun. But also, if Alyosha is given a non-free action that turn, any animal, either the lion or any other animal keyword character on your team, can be given a move action for free. You know who's an animal? Rocket Raccoon. And Loki. You know what's a move action? Phasing Teleport. With 11 movement. For free.
Wait, so it's free?
It's free. So that's cool. And also, with Rocket himself is really awesome. He's tiny size, so he just gets naturally +1 to his defense at range. But also with tiny size is that he can get picked up by the lion. And one of the cool things about that is that the lion is a boot symbol and Rocket is tiny, which means that I can have Rocket riding the lion into battle.
For free. On the
free.
first turn.
For free. On the first turn, which
At
means
the beginning of the
it's
turn.
still the beginning of my turn, which means I can drop a hammer on Rocket. For free. And then empower him. Because it's all at the beginning of the turn. And then later in the turn, I can give someone an action to drop another hammer. I can have 2 hammers out on the first turn.
Oh my god!
And then, of course, just these guys are boosting up stats and adding powers that these guys are lacking in. And, you know, Split Lip has enhancement. This little guy's awesome. He's got...
You spent more time talking about the fucking toy.
He's got 7 movement charge, 10 attack, 17 defense with toughness, 3 damage. He's tiny size too. He's got 6 range. This is like the best little compact 23. I don't even care that he's only 1 click. Because he's just the best 23 points for this team. I've had people like just get blown where he's just come out of nowhere with a hammer on him too. Come out of nowhere, charge, with a hammer, 12 attack, doing 3 damage. My little Superman. I'm really excited for this team. It has done really well for me so far. And I know how to pilot it really well, which is very important. Because if I don't understand my team, I do shit. So hopefully this does well for me, and you guys will find out.
Fucking 20-1. Freaking tournament starts in like 7.5 hours. Alright. We try to do this fast. And we're going to decide. Anyway. We're in Ottawa. Not a place I've spent a lot of time in. Nation capital. Go fig. So, how do we put this? I got a team. I think is going to do very well for myself. Hopefully get me to day 2. Maybe top 8. We'll see. As Amber said, we're doing this before the tournament. So, we're optimistic today. Tomorrow, we might not be so optimistic. We'll see. There's a story behind my team that started with our resurgence in the Heroclix that I don't want to get into. I do have a heartfelt video about it somewhere, but I'm not going to mention it. Anyway, so with the new Modern Age cut, the oldest set becomes the Marvel and DC 10th anniversary sets. One of the things I made great note of while they were previewing the set many, many moons ago, when unfortunately had to get into the set very late, and luckily, because a local store grabbed a whole bunch of them. There's a lot of low point figures with a lot of way higher than necessary stats on them. But the unfortunate fact is those characters came with some very lacking things to make them excellent. So I'll start talking about my team, and then we'll continue talking about my team as to what I had to do to deal with this problem. So the basis of my team, I've got Captain America from the Marvel 10th Anniversary set. A nice charge, 11 attack, 17 defense with energy shield, 3 damage with leadership, and the Avengers Initiative team ability. That's a pretty awesome team ability. I don't care who you are. And the fact that it comes with 5 range lets me actually make some attempts on some things. So, there's that. Also for Marvel 10th Anniversary, I have Storm. 59 points. Gets you a character with 8 range, 9 movement with stealth, of all things. 3 damage with range combat expert. Not very fantastic on the get-go. And the X-Men team ability, not a factor in my team at all. From the DC 10th Anniversary set, I got Batman. Leap and climb, 6 range with 2 targets, pretty good. Incapacitate, very awesome power. And willpower, can't go wrong with that. Something that some of these figures is lacking, was in one case it was some willpower, in another case it was some move and attack. Other cases it was the ability to move through hindering terrain. So I thought to myself, how do we fix that problem? Well, the best way to fix that problem is to give them the things that they need. The best delivery method, of course, the Book of Skulls. So I decided to go with the Book of Skulls on this team in order to just... Basically, the team is, like, these figures are good in their own. I just needed to fill in some blanks. The blanks being, of course, Captain America would be very awesome to be able to running shot with that 5 range, ignoring hindering, for both movement and shooting. Storm could really use a running shot willpower, because an 8 range character would be nice to be able to keep shooting with. And Batman is, well, a giant running shot Batman. You tell me that's not a scary thing. Seeing over
terrifying.
Seeing over things, hiding in stealth, outwitting things, incapacitating things that need to get incapacitated, while giant. And with +2 attack. So this Batman comes with 12 attack and a 63-point package. Give him a hammer, he's got 14 attack. And on the Perplex Clix with the empowerment, you're talking about a 15 attack. Isn't there a 20 defense thing that... Anyway, I made this team a couple... Like, when we first heard about an ROC in Windsor. So if you think I'm just countering Despotelis with things like that, no. Despotelis has happened to come across as an issue. Now, I had some points to fill out with this, because it was just a Book of Skulls and some good characters. Split up, of course, to accelerate the Book of Skulls. Who could go wrong with that, right? And I got Tony Stark. Tony Stark adds another Avengers Initiative character with, a running shot hammer, gives him that extra ability. Plus he's got Outwit, an enhancement on his white damage power, which is awesome when you can include that with a Batman who's already coming with Outwit, and the potential for Outwit from the Book of Skulls. You can have 3 Outwits in some points. This Tony Stark also comes with Energy Explosion, not bad, and Willpower. Hey, what the hell, right? Avengers Initiative, again, very awesome. So now I've got 2 enhancers on a bunch of characters who can now make awesome range attacks. With the remaining 13 points, or 15 points, I've squeezed in a damaged Warbot and a Reporter. I couldn't figure out the last 2 points. I'm not that big a thinker, though. But there's another aspect that can really help accelerate this team's cost effectiveness, I found, and that was using the Book of Skulls to accelerate the number of hits that I'm dealing damage with. And the reason for that is that I can now start to comfortably bring in the sidelines for these characters, and I could probably see them on average maybe once per game. The Tony Stark turns into this Iron Man who takes a little bit of damage, but then becomes, bigger, stronger, whatever than the other one, right? He's even got Steel Energy at one point. Throw on that hammer, he's pretty awesome. It starts with effectively a 10 attack, 4 damage, and 9 movement with charge. And then he gets move and attack later on, and some awesome stuff. The figure itself, what it transforms Tony Stark into from a supporting enhancer outwitter is a damager. Storm becomes a little bit more defensively capable. She'll get energy shield when she doesn't have action tokens. She gains leadership, which I don't know if you saw the number of figures I have on this team, but it's a lot of things going on. So an extra leadership is always nice. She comes with Psychic Blast, Running Shot, and Energy Shield, and Super Sense when she doesn't have action tokens. The other 2 chases from the Marvel 10th and DC 10th, the Skrull, Captain America, the Batman, they're situational. If my opponent has some stealth, I'm not going to be bringing this Captain America in anytime soon. I'm not going to be in a big rush to get him. I mean, the fact that he's indomitable is cool, and the fact that he's got the double shape change roll is also cool, but I have to weigh it out with the laws of what the hell do I want to do, right? Because if I've got Captain America on one hand using Avengers Initiative to wipe through stealthy guys, what good is this guy going to do me when I'm shape-changing? The Batman, on the other hand, is probably the least likely to see the table on me. I mean, if I'm seeing an opponent who's got some shape change, I could always use that extra health, I might. And he's rolling it well against me, then yeah, what the heck, right? But for the most part, the Batman might stay the Batman that he is. This team has been tested out. Me and Amber have been crushing each other with a lot of things have been played on the meta. Our teams have been faring very well. Now, part of that could be the pilots, so we might just suck at this game, or we might, be holding back or something. We're not 100% sure, but we're bringing it to the big show. This is our first big show. We're kind of hoping to do well, because we do have a big show, and we're at the big show. So, to you guys, our 500-plus subscribers, thank you very much for that this past weekend, by the way. We are hoping to do you proud, hoping to legitimize meta fix for myself. But, yeah, wish us luck, and hopefully I'm not too salty when I'm talking about the team tomorrow, or tomorrow night, this night.
Hey guys, we're just quickly back into our hotel in between tournaments. They're running them segmented all day, so we've just finished our first constructed qualifier for the actual nationals, which is going to be held tomorrow on the Sunday. So first one, we just went through 3 rounds of constructed 300-point Modern Age. We already told you guys about our teams. So I lost very spectacularly. My first round, it was a horrible matchup, honestly. I went up against a copycat New Mutants team base, dealy. That's a rough team to go up against, just because it's a full dial team base. So, and also a big critical part of how my team works was taken away. He used his copycat to take my Alyosha Craven, and then when he took him, he took the Lion with him. Now the Lion, like I told you guys, is supposed to bring Rocket out so that I can get those hammer is even more accelerated. So I didn't have that. So I had to use Loki instead to move people forward for that. But because I had the Copycat, I ended up using Loki to move Copycat forward and put Ingrid's hammer on her, regenerate, send her back. And then she was there in the cluster of my team, and I was so close to killing her, but I couldn't get enough aggression right off the bat, and she survived a lot longer than I really wanted her to. Also, I wasn't banking on the fact that it was just a ruling I never really thought of. With Copycat taking Alyosha and Gulyakin starting on my opponent's team, even when I take Alyosha back, my lion doesn't come back. He stays on my opponent's team. So when I had taken Alyosha back, the lion was next to him, and I had set him up for basically a really big range combat, high damage, high attack on the team base, and couldn't do that because I had to spend an action to kill the lion. Basically, it was a hard fought, and also unfortunately we did should have talked to a judge about it, but there was a little miscommunication about how the Book of Skulls was using, so I wasn't using it to its full potential, unfortunately. And I'm not going to say that cost me the game, because that's still a really tough team for my team to beat. But I could have done better. I probably could have scored a lot more points if I was using everything on the using what I could have. So that was my first loss. And the second round, I went up against a young guy, like just started playing, 13 years old, coming out to the Nationals. He had a great team. It was not quite the Shatterstar Despotellis, but it was Shatterstar, Black Talon, and Phantomex instead of Iron Pharaoh. And he did really great with that team, and it was a huge, hard-fought battle. I had taken Shatterstar out right away. Now, unfortunately, when he did his Alpha Strike with Shatterstar, he got a critical miss. So that basically changed the whole tone of that game for me. Put it in my favor, having him out there with a token with a critical miss. I had Rocket and the Lion next to him, and it took me 2 turns, but Shatterstar was gone. He had also brought up Ava as well. So it was back and forth. Like, I managed to get Shatterstar out of the way right away, and then came around with Loki and Split Lip, using Running Shot Hammer enhancement with Split Lip, and knocked down his Black Talon a lot. Eventually, Black Talon just died. He tried to move out. He had Blind Owl on his team, and he tried to move her to safety. Unfortunately, moving her out of the starting area causes her to take a click every turn, so he killed his own Blind Owl, trying to get her away from me. So he was just down to Phantomex, and he had managed to take out my Alyosha right away with Phantomex, and when I kind of went aggressive with Loki and Split Lip, taking out Black Allen, Phantomex was there to take out those two. So it was down to his Phantomex, my Rocket full dial, and my Superman and my Lion, and I moved my Lion and Superman in, trying to go aggressive there. Unfortunately, I couldn't get close enough to base Phantomex so that he couldn't range combat me. And one really good hit on Rocket, and I probed, he still hit, took out Rocket, and I had Phantomex pretty damaged too, so we got down to, like, pretty much last action. I did a Hail Mary, tried to Blades with the Lion to try and get that Phantomex, and rolled a 1 instead. So just on the points, it was still a really hard fought battle. I got a good amount of points out of that, but he won on that. And then my final game was just, it was a slaughter fest. I was tired, I was run down, it's hot, we've got at least 60, 70 people in the store, everything's going on, like, I'm just like, ooh, starting to go down. So I was missing a few things, not thinking right, not really playing my team to its full potential, and early on got slaughtered. He was playing a Bizarro, a Bullseye, Edward Nigma, and Blind Owl, and and the Power Plant, so he was putting those rings out. So he had the range advantage on me with Bullseye, managed to take out Alyosha, so now I'm not getting my free movements with my animals and my Lion. I had my Lion stay with Rocket to carry him around, even though that was going to take me in action. I had Loki out of the way, but then he managed to perplex up the range on Edward Nygma and mind control him into his team. And he did some really amazing things that, like, I didn't even think of combos. He had mind controlled Loki to bring him into his starting area. And Edward Nygma ends up putting action tokens on up until 2 without putting pushing damage. So now he's sitting there with 2 actions, can't do anything. And then he gave Blind Owl power action to pop him out of the starting area and deal him 1 damage. And I was just like, my mind was blown at, like, the combos he was doing with Blind Owl. And at one point, like, at the very beginning of the game, he had Bill, that's the other one, because I actually managed to kill him early, so I forgot that he was on the team. He had used Blind Owl to pop Bill out, which put him on that activation click, where now he's got that special power where you don't need line of sight dealy. And then he's also got sidestep on that, so he came back into the starting area. So, like, the only thing I did manage to do with any of my big guys was take out Bill. And I'm just like, I am gonna lose, like, this is gonna be the first game that I'm getting swept. So my team is down to Superman action figure and Alyosha's lion. But they both have a hammer on them. And they're power cosmic because it's enough late in the game that I had all my hammers out. So they were just sitting there, and Bizarro came forward with Edward Nygma, so for the prob, and he tried to hit, but they have ridiculously high defenses to start with, and I kept putting the empowering Gulyakin with the book, and I was done enough damage that, like, I'm at +2 to everything, and so he just couldn't hit me. And then so I'm like, alright, I've got 1-click characters. I'm not going to go anywhere with this. I'm going to get slaughtered. I'm like, here's my Hail Mary, charge, charge. I hit Bizarro, and he only had 2 tokens, so half of Bizarro's life is gone, and knocked him off the impervious clip, because Superman does 3 damage. And so that was enough to knock him off his impervious click, but then that put him on super senses and shape change. So he made his super senses roll. So then he tried to hit me, still couldn't hit me. And I'm like, alright, well, I'm power cosmic. And he, like, sidestepped out of the way with Bizarro. And I'm like, power cosmic, charge, charge. Hit him again. Or, like, I went to hit him. Anyways, took out Bizarro. And I'm like, okay. So he cleared, I cleared. And I'm like, alright. So I've got Edward Nygma there, I'm charging. So I basically used those 2 little guys to take out Bizarro and Edward Nygma and put my points up. Like, another 110 points from what I originally had. And, just with the 2 little bystanders, and I'm driving my opponent crazy with this. And eventually it went to time, and last action was called, and I still have my 2 bystanders. So I went 0-3, honestly, just bleh. But finished the 3 rounds with almost 400 points. So I scored every round, and every round went to time. So I didn't get swept. And my team performed to its best abilities in most cases. Sometimes I missed some things. But I got to the point where I was actually very happy with my team because everything on my team has a purpose. Everything can do. Like, Split Lip and Gulyakin and Superman action figure, they're not just hammer accelerations. Like, they're not just for putting actions on to drop hammers. They do that early game, but late game, once all the hammers are out, then they're coming out and they're attacking you. So, I have 2 more tournaments to try and qualify for day 2, so we'll see how those go for me.
Day 1 of Nationals. Tournament 1. I go in. I got my team. We've all seen it. First round, you hope that you get somebody whose name you've never heard before. And then you look at the sheet and you see you're up against somebody like, I don't know, Kevin Afruz. For those of you who aren't familiar, Kevin Afruz and Patrick Joko have been running a lot of the ROCs very well. They've been doing particularly fantastically in tournaments, and there's nothing more exciting / terrifying than playing against a guy with a record like that. So my team, first turn, he took off Magma. Good choice. Magma's a poisoner. Second year in my face, you're gonna be a problem for me. I probably could have played some other things differently, but certain things have to happen with my team in order for it to work, so I have to suffer. So first turn he gets magic out. I do my positioning for the first turn and get a hammer on Storm. Hammer, of course, being Null's hammer.
Second turn, he pulls off he pulls off magic, and then magic fires magma and copycat into my face. For those of you who haven't figured it out yet, copycat and New Mutants were what I was playing against. It's a team that I'm familiar with. And it's a team that I make my opponent look at my team and go, I am not giving you extra points. Plain and simple, right? That said, he was in my face, and the game started right off the bat. Now, I wasn't able to accelerate any more hammers out, so I had Batman and Storm armed with hammers, and I had to just kind of roll with it, do what I could to do some damage with it. All in all, I managed to kill Magma, felt like 4 or 5 times. Wait, how many? It would have been... I killed Magma enough times to make him take off the maximum number of pieces from the belt, or from the thing. So I killed Magma at least 3 times before I finally killed her. So I had to kill Magma 4 times. It's a little obnoxious. So, that said, with Magma eventually dead, but my team just slowly but surely getting whittled away, it came down to... I think all I had left on my team was Batman and Tony Stark. I had managed to kill Magic. I had managed to kill, what's her name? Magma at eventual points. And I had the Batman promoted to the Black Lantern Batman. So I've taken that now, and I'm forcing shape change rolls out of that copycat. But he made an awful lot of them. It happens. It's a 1 in 3 chance every time. Individual probabilities is what I look at, not the off chance number of probabilities. That said, the final attempt on him, I had finished off magic, done a couple other things. I managed to perplex up the damage on my Batman, managed to get an enhancer next to him, and the Batman has this 3 range. I was within 3 range of Copycat. I go to attack Copycat, and I hit. He probs, I hit. He probs, I critically miss. So Batman takes a damage after gaining a life from the shape change. Time is called, and that's it. So it came down to he scored 211 points of my team, and I managed to score 179. Now, I wasn't going to get myself discouraged. I killed stuff, which means I still have that chance of being one of the 2-in-1s that has the high enough points to make the top 8. I'm not discouraged yet. Game 2 was a little bit more of a aggressive team turn on mine, and a lot of mistakes on my opponent's part. Her name was Aja, as the pronunciation that was going around the table was. She played a very fantastically built Alpha Flight team with Northstar and Aurora, and the Prime Sasquatch. Unfortunately, she made a gigantic critical error. She had a book of skulls with 3 hammers, I believe, 3 or 4 hammers on the book, and she moved. We played on the moon map. Now, if those of you are familiar with the moon map, you'll know that there's those points of elevated terrain that are actually craters. They're down to level 1 terrain, and the brunt of the map is on the level 2 terrain. What happened was she positioned on the opposite end of one of those elevated portions, that the opposite end that my characters were on. So she pretty much put herself in a straight line of fire to my Batman and Storm. And 7 squares away from my Batman, I empower Storm on the second turn. I outwit the invulnerability with a perplexed up range on the Batman. I attack with Batman with Tony Stark next to him, deal 4 damage, and then I deal another 6 damage with Storm. With a ranged combat expert attack against that Sasquatch. So now she's behind. She was already a little down on herself at that point, too. And then it was just a matter of getting the Northstar Aurora combo. Now, one thing she did do that was really neat with Northstar was use the hand ATA. So she was using the blocking terrain that was on the map. So once I had 4 hammers out, my next thing I had to do was I had to start taking that advantage away from her. So I put Cursed Hammer on Storm and flew around and destroyed a whole bunch of blocking terrain, and managed to get Storm. Get Northstar. Aurora came in, went in for some shots. She did manage to do some damage to my Storm, but Northstar was the one that did damage to my Storm earlier on. And that's why I used Storm with the Cursed Hammer, because Storm was damaged, and I didn't want to force attacks out of her. I'd rather use more effective attackers, as I was really playing hard. I played so hard because I really wanted to get to day 2 on this. So that said, I came up with, or I managed to get every figure on her team, and she managed to do damage to Storm. That was ultimately it. So I was now up 299 plus my first round loss. But my first round loss was a lot of points. So going to the third round, and it was the type of team I hadn't tested against, and it was the Weaponer. It was a Weaponer with the Blue Lantern Recruit, Blind Owl, and the Green Lantern Power Battery. So already my team is annoyed because the Green Lantern Power Battery is stopping a lot of my extra free actions, because I got a lot of free actions I can throw out of my team with Quakes and Outwits and Perplexes, but now I've got to be very careful about it. So being very careful about it, it's not what his team does, as he evidently decided that picking up an ultra heavy object and smacking my Batman on turn 2 was going to do. But it also puts his Weaponer in a precarious position towards me. He's exposed to my team. Now, the first couple attacks I did a lot of missing. Once I started hitting with my Captain America, who was armed with a hammer, Anger's hammer even, after having pushed and done some tricky positioning on the first turn, or second turn, I had the Weaponer wounded. So he had to get the heck out of dodge with the Weaponer. He was using his Blue Lantern Recruit effectively with a net from the Green Lantern Corps, from Battery. So I was forced to make close combat attacks against that Weaponer because, well, that Weaponer, right? I managed to lose Storm and Batman to the Weaponer, which frightened me. But it came down to a big push move with the damaged Warbot that got rid of some smoke clouds that let me take the Captain America into his starting zone. Now he's got Blind Owl in there, which meant he was able to position me outside of the starting area. But what was limited is where he could place me, because his starting area, this was not the Legion Hall, Legion Town, but the other side of the Superman and Legion Superhero OP event maps. He managed to position me outside of the starting area, but where he was able to position me was very limited. And as a result, I was able to get another charge in on that Weaponer. But he also positioned his Blind Owl in a position to try to perplex down my stats and smoke cloud me. So I killed the Blind Owl with the Tony Stark, and his name was Mackenzie. He had a very French accent, so he's probably from the area. That's not an insult. I was pointing out that he had a French accent. Sometimes when I do that, I gain one. But he played very well, and he's a very stand-up guy for not stalling in those last couple of minutes, because I think they called 2 minutes remaining when I had Captain America charge the Weaponer for the last time after he was on a stop click, and that was the game. I had a heck of a group of opponents, and I had a heck of a time on day one. So, that said, I was a little nervous. I didn't know what could have possibly happened. There was a couple team bases, and once you're popping off figures, points get a little wacky. And then I heard 8th place with 2 wins, 1 loss, and 600 points. I had 700 and change. So already I was like, oh my god, I'm in the top 8. I just wanted to know where. I managed to get 5th in the top 8. The top 4 were, of course, the 3-0s, and the top 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8 are all the 2 and 1s with really high points. So, to all the guys that played, congratulations. You guys played your butts off. The guys who got the top included Patricia Lamb, Patrick Joko, Kevin Fruz, and Ben Riley, a guy we actually know and have played at Comic Warehouse a couple times. And I look forward to seeing you guys on day 2. And let's see what you guys bring, because I'm probably bringing the same thing.
Hi guys. We were actually originally planning to keep filming while we were out at Nationals, and by the time we were done our first day marathon gaming, we were in no condition to be in front of a camera. We were practically drunk just on exhaustion. You wouldn't have gotten 2 coherent sentences strung together from us. And then after the actual Nationals itself, we had to travel back home. So by the time we got back home, once again, just in no condition. So we're going to just give you guys a recap of how the rest of Nationals went for us anyways. Now for me, Jason's day was basically done. You guys heard how he qualified within his first tournament and went on to do whatever it was that he was doing for the rest of the day, where I just kept at it. I had a small break to do a Battle Royale, which was probably one of the most fun games I played all weekend. It was a 4-person battle royale between myself, Drake Conroy, Nick Peterson, and Patricia Lamb. Now, if those names sound familiar, because those are the top 3 players placed in the tournament, with Nick taking first, Patricia at second, and Drake at third. And before we even did Nationals itself, it just happened to be that the 4 of us got together to do a battle royale. And we did kind of like a really fun trolling one. Like, there was 15 packs of Batman 66. There were 3 packs of Mage Knight. There was a couple of packs of Lone Ranger. Like, it was just absolutely ridiculous mix of stuff, and it just happened to be that between good pulls, solid dice rolls, and everybody else's placements, I ended up winning first place on that and got myself a Hulk, Red She-Hulk convention Ellie, and really super excited about that. And then following that, I went into 3 rounds of Constructed with my team and fared better this time around. My first round was just, it was a hard one. It was just a team that I was not built to go up against. Basically, it was an Iron Pharaoh, a Bullseye, 2 entities, and the power battery, and basically he spent his entire game in his starting area, and I had to really push forward to get to him, and managed to do nothing while he pretty much slaughtered my team. I think that one actually went to time without getting all of the points, but even still, it was a really hard-fought battle in that. And then the second round, I went up against one of our buddies that we actually drove up with, and he was playing Cinder, World's Finest, with a belt on World's Finest, with the Batman cowl to keep her in super stealth, where lines of fire were blocked if she was next to elevated or blocking. So I basically had to pool all my strength together, take out his Cinder, who actually had the entity on her, getting that prob, and took her out, and then my entire team just swarmed World's Finest, hit after hit after hit, until she was just gone. So I actually survived that game with a full sweep, and I think I only lost Loki in the mix of it. So I only gave up about 35 points, 36 I think, because he probably would have had 2 hammers on him. And then my third round, if you guys were actually watching the live stream, you already know how my third round went. I was up against one of our local guys who actually, even though he's local, I didn't meet him until we went to Ottawa, Don, and he played a crazy-ass team with Iron Pharaoh and Phantom Girl and 2 Blind Owls, with Despotellis, with Adara, with the full green power battery, so it completely shut down my free actions, and my team just moved forward. I chose a map that really closed him in, and my team could function really well within it, but the only thing that was coming forward was that Phantom Girl, and it got to the point where they actually had people watching the live stream count how many successful shape change and super senses rolls that he rolled in a row. 7. There were 7 attacks made, and this is almost like an attack a turn, or like a round, basically. So I went almost 7 rounds not being able to hit this Phantom Girl. It was the most frustrating thing I've ever had to go through. And eventually, in the end, like, before we got to time, I managed to get 1 really good hit on the Phantom Girl, and he had killed Loki and Split Lip. And that was it. He got 56 points for that round. I got nothing. And other than, like, just, everybody was convinced I was going to flip the table and shut the camera down. But I was laughing my ass off through it, because I couldn't even believe just the, like, sheer improbability of all of his dice rolls. And then we moved on from that to a sealed, which was my final qualifier to just try to get to day 2. And I did decent pulls, but the thing was, they had a giant stack of boosters, and it was Slosh, Iron Man, and Incredible Hulk. Just basically leftover boosters, and everybody pulled into the blind pack, pulled out 2 boosters, and that's what you went with. So by the time it came around to me, there was only 2 packs left, and I got Incredible Hulk and Invincible Iron Man, and I managed to build a decent enough team. I had Wrecker, Guardian, and Jigsaw, and my first round, I just completely slaughtered the guy, and got full points. We were done before time, and like in my constructed, almost every one of my games went to time. In my sealed, not so much. And then, so my second round, I went up against a Mandarin and a Snowbird, and there was a Tony Stark in there, I believe. Something little. But that Snowbird, it was just my curse to go up against another character with shape change and super senses, and he made those rolls. Like, the improbability of this just blows my mind, that they were always making that. Yeah, even at one point, sat next to, my Wrecker was next to Snowbird, and a couple of squares away from Mandarin, and I was like, it's a 50% chance that I can roll the breakaway to charge that Mandarin, but he only has a 33% chance of getting that shape change roll, so the probability, the math is with me, that he won't get that shape change roll, and I'll have an easier chance of hitting the Snowbird than I would of breaking away to hit the Mandarin, but of course, he got the shape change roll. So because dice hate me, and I have an improbability field, I ended up not scoring any points in that round. So I had a full win, a full loss, 1-1. I should have gone up against another 1-1, and I'm like, even if, all I have to do is score points to qualify. If I win, I'll be within the top 8 of this tournament. I'm doing really well, even with that one really bad loss. And however it worked with the event system, I don't know if it was completely randomized or if I was just the highest scoring 1-1, but I got paired up to a 2-0. And that broke me. I was expecting to go up against another 1-1 where a team that fared decent against someone else but failed against someone, and I had to go up against a guy that was undefeated so far. And not fucking surprising, he was playing the 101 Iron Man and Centurious. I don't know what else was on that team. It doesn't matter. Oh, North Star. So a hypersonic attacker in the midst of it was so hard. It was so hard. Oh, and the guy wielding this team was Kevin Freeze from the States, who's been refused. F-Freeze. I can't. I'm sorry. I butchered that last
Freeze.
Gesundheit. And who's been killing it in the ROC lately, with Patrick Gjoko, who was also there. So anyways, it was just an absolute slaughtering, but thankfully, even managed to get some little bits of points there. I still qualified. So it was basically my marathoning. I had 14 hours straight of gaming, and I managed to make it to day 2.
This took a lot out of me. So, as we already discussed, I did fairly well in the first tournament I played in. I got 5th place. Came back to the store after we filmed that portion, and discovered that I was actually entitled to a Con L8. So guess who owns a dupe now? That's right, me. I own a dupe. Dupe. Where do I go from there? Well, if I was to say anything, it was, I had a lot of fun in a lot of Battle Royales. My goal with the Battle Royales was more or less to have fun and have everybody at the Battle Royale laughing, as opposed to, I want to get my Con Ellie. I mean, if I got the Con Ellie, that was a bonus, but I really wanted to have as much fun as I could playing in those things. And it was apparently a mission accomplished, because every Battle Royale I was in had loud amounts of boisterous laughter coming from it. It had everybody actually wanted to join mine. Now, after I had played the first Battle Royale I was in, which was, if anybody saw the photos, all 4 of us just made a unofficial agreement to play with 5 Yu-Gi-Oh packs, because why not? After my saying, what the hell is a Yu-Gi-Oh about 7 or 8 times, I got thoroughly stomped on that. I almost killed a Blue Eyes White Dragon, but that's a misnomer, because that dragon was very blue, I want to point out. And its eyes, I couldn't tell what color its eyes were. Anyway,
After almost killing one of those, I was like, hey, these things are kind of fun. So, I ended up playing one more Battle Royale with Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters in there. I didn't fare as well that time. But one of the most notable Battle Royales I played in was, the store owner said he would make the prize a Jonah Hex for anybody who was willing to play with at least one Lone Ranger figure as one of their packs. So I was like, sure, why not? One of the guys at the table played 5 Lone Ranger packs. I personally played a Lone Ranger pack and 4 Kick-Ass 2 packs. One of the other guys was a jerk and brought some Man of Steel. And that's what actually got me a Jonah Hex Go Fig. Because the way it worked was we got to pick one of our figures, and then they all got pooled in the middle. And then it did the kind of a snake draft of all the figures in the middle. So you took one of your figures that you wanted for the most from your stuff. And for whatever reason, I decided that... actually, no, the Lone Ranger was the one I took, because I pulled the Lone Ranger in my pack, and I pulled some other stuff from Kick-Ass. So what had happened was, I rolled second, I believe, and 2 guys grabbed General Zod right out of the packs. Go fig. Can't blame them on that one. General Zod is a very awesome figure. I grabbed the Superman, who is, it turns out, significantly more mobile than General Zod. What had happened in the game, long story short, 2 games broke out in the middle of one game, and then I turned around and started killing other things from the other side of the board once my side of the table was dead. So, not only did I walk out with a Jonah Hex in that game, I managed to walk out with a full set of Lone Ranger figures. Amber is the only person in the world who cheered. Everybody else is actually kind of ashamed of me. I can feel it from you. I can feel your shame. For whatever reason, I decided it was okay to stay with Amber for the entirety of her marathoning. Stand by my woman, I guess you would. I tried to sign up for a couple more Battle Royals as the night turned on, but less and less people were starting to join them, so I was kind of on my own on that one. And I guess everybody was going back to their hotel rooms to build their teams for the next day. I was personally happy with my day 1 team. That's a bad idea. That's a lesson learned, but I'm going to come to that at the end. So, that said, we went out, grabbed some nachos,
oh my God, nachos.
Had some beers, and basically we were done for the night once Amber was done in the last tournament.
So day 2, we finally make it. 32, top 32 from day 1 move over into the actual nationals. So far, I'm happy. I've gotten to the nationals. I actually qualified in day 1. I made it over. If I make it further, I'll be happier, but I'm happy where I am. And we discovered that it was single round elimination. So it was do or die. You made it or you didn't. So either I won my game and made it to top 16, or I lost my game and placed somewhere in the late 20s. So we get to sitting down all of the pairings. I decided to still go with my team. I didn't want to have to build something like the night before, and I didn't really plan all that much ahead that I'd actually qualify. So I didn't have too much of a backup team per se. So I went with my same team since I knew how to play it inside and out, and I'd be good playing it. And it turns out that my first matchup of the day, my only matchup of the day, was against the guy, that Iron Man Bullseye team that I was telling you about that beat me in the first day. And not only was it the team that had already beat me in day 1, but he had actually tweaked his team specifically to beat mine again. The first time I faced him, he had an orange ring on his power battery so that the character that was possessed by Ophidian would have +1 to all their stats except for damage, which is a really good strategy. But then after playing against my team and the ridiculous amount of free actions that my team actually does, and some other teams were really built around free actions as well, he was just like, well, with all, like, after your team and all of the free actions, he's like, I had to go with the green ring. So then he shut down half of what my team can do. So not only had he already beat me, but now he's basically, like, grinding me into the dirt afterwards. So I worked around it a little bit. I got a couple of shots in, but unfortunately with my Outwitter not having as much mobility as my main my Alpha Strike attacker Loki, Rocket was staying back out of range of being able to outwit Bullseye, and Bullseye's top dial probability control just every time. I was getting critical hits too on this guy, and he was just probbing them away. And eventually, this time around, he did completely swipe my team. Complete sweep, just brutal. I didn't get a single attack on him. But at least the one thing that I could take away from it was that I did nothing wrong. I played my team exactly the way it was supposed to play. The first time I faced him, I made a couple of mistakes in placings and not remembering everything. And so this time around, I was like, I'm going to remember absolutely everything. And I did everything that I could, and it still didn't work up against just bad pairings where that team had already beaten mine. But then for the rest of the day, I just played a lot of battle royales and a lot of really good stuff. And I played 4 more battle royales, and ended up still winning. I got a world's finest out of it. We had a really, really epic battle royale with a bunch of people that we knew that were local. And at the end, like, once nationals were actually done and people were pretty much packing up and going home, they're like, all right, well, we're still open until 9. Anybody that wants to do battle royales, they're now only $10. And so everybody's like, yeah, $10 for a chance at a con LE, why not? So yeah, I ended up walking away with the 2 con LEs that I wanted out of this, and I got top 20-ish, within the top 30 for all of nationals. So I am actually pretty happy with, considering I know I'm not a really big competitive meta player, and I played my ass off, and I did a lot better than I was ever expecting I would do. So I was really happy with the way everything turned out.
So come day 2, we're rested. I didn't say well, right? I just said we were rested and ready to go for the next day. But unfortunately, what I wasn't really aware of is, first, the single elimination portion. Secondly, if you play the same team, some people are going to be aware of it and be ready for it. Now, I can't honestly assume that my opponent did that. It felt like it. Because I had a pretty good, I'd say a pretty even matchup against Weaponers, but not this particular build of the Weaponer. And his name, I'm going to have a little pronunciation issue with his last name, but it's Philippe Chanjar. Basically, it's a guy who got 4th place. His team was a Weaponer with a Blue Lantern Recruit and Bill, Agent of AIM, but on his Weaponer he had a utility belt with night vision goggles. Now, if you remember my team in particular, night vision goggles are going to cause a problem, especially when he's smart enough to throw an energy explosion on my team with a 15 attack, I believe he had at the time. Yeah, so a 15 attack that dealt 6 damage to my Batman, 2 damage to everybody else who was next to him, because that's unfortunately how my team sets up. And I got to weep. I got to weep uncontrollably because my day was pretty much done. I did what I could. I tried to fight it out. I managed to kill Bill.
You killed Bill.
Scoring 30 points. But, I mean, that was it. My run to the Nationals was over in the top 32, not the top 16. Not where I want it to be, but I'll accept it. You can't win them all. Lessons learned, bring multiple teams. Play in all the high competition tournaments that you possibly can.
Marathon it!
This is one of the aspects that I wasn't as ready for as, say, players like Patricia Lamb, Patrick Joko, Kevin Fruz, the high-level players who actually all made the top 8. That's where they stepped that level above me. We lack a lot of the high-level competition here. We don't have a great deal of ROCs happening in our locale. We don't have a great deal, and I mean, because me and Amber don't drive, it makes it a little harder to get to these things, or more expensive to get to these things, because we don't have, or the train is not cheap, planes are not cheap, we don't have a passport, which, again, we're still trying to become adults here, so this was going to be that big trigger if I managed to make it to the world spot, where I was like, okay, I've got to get a passport now. We're going to get a passport now, but it's just we're not as much of a rush. But what we do know is bring multiple teams, play multiple ways, be ready for more than just what you brought. Because if you play what you brought the first day, and then come in the second day, people are going to be ready for what you brought, as well as other things that people brought that could cause their team's problems. So, I want to say congratulations to all the guys that made it to the top. To Nick Peterson, who won. Congratulations. For those of you who are complaining that he wasn't Canadian, Patricia Lamb and a bunch of us other Canadians do go to American nationals sometimes, so we can't really complain. And congratulations to Patricia Lamb.
5 out of the 8 spots were Canadian.
And congratulations to Patricia Lamb herself for being the best Canadian at Canadian Nationals in second place. It was a fantastic weekend of gaming. I want to say a lot of thank yous. Thank you to Patrick Chow and Stan for making the trip up with us. I don't know Stan's last name, so he's referred to as Stan Tam. Tam?
Tam.
Stan Tam. Who made the trip up with us. You guys were awesome to be in the car with. We would do it again. Special thank you to the Comic Warehouse who let us come in before tournaments to get a little bit of practice in and stay after tournaments to practice some more in their play space. Thank you to Carta Magica for running an awesome event. It was quite awesome, quite amazing to get that level of play, to get our chance at the con at least ourselves, to have our Colossals, we have our Galactus, and we're content, and we have Impossible Man and Resurrection Man of our own.
And to the commentators who were doing the live stream, who kept asking us over for interviews.
Those guys
were awesome.
The guys that ran the live stream were amazing. Fantastic job for what you're given with regards to Heroclix. If I'm up for it next year, I might join you guys at the table. Do some more time with it, especially if I can get some more practice with my own kind of vamping and keeping the game alive. We're going to practice with our a little bit of stylistic of our own. Maybe change the way we film our games and do a post-game commentary of a taped game to improve our skills.